Welcome in. It's Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we are going to bring you the latest happenings with your Seattle Seahawks, with the latest news and rumors as we're talking everything from trades to potential free agent signings. You will not want to miss a moment of it. We'll get to it here in just a second. Before we do, folks, we are closing in on another milestone here on the channel. 36,500 subscribers, but we need your help to get there. About 211 subs away. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for the latest happenings on your favorite team, daily news and rumors segments. We also are getting you ready for the NFL draft, which will be here in a couple weeks. We're going to be live during the draft, so you won't want to miss out on that. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. If the Seahawks make a move of some sorts, we're going to do whatever we can to bring you a video as quickly as possible. Subscribe now for free today, and we'll get started with today's show. Josh Jacobs, could he be on his way to Seattle and joining the Seahawks? Well, CBS Sports has named the Seahawks as a top trade destination for the Las Vegas Raiders running back. Now, let me set the scene for you before we hear what Cody Benjamin of CBS had to say about this possibility. Josh Jacobs entering a year where he is expected to be in the franchise tag and didn't want to sign the franchise tender, and he's played some really good football. He's been one of the best running backs in the league the last couple of years, and he's upset that he doesn't have a new contract. And with where this Raiders team is at right now, there's questions about the direction they want to go, if they are willing to pay Josh Jacobs to be there long term, or if they rather just go ahead and not pay him and move on and start over the running back position. With that said, here's more from Cody Benjamin on this possibility. Technically, he's locked in for 2023 under the franchise tag, but that doesn't mean the Raiders wouldn't field or solicit interest in the event a future long-term deal is unlikely. Coach Josh McDaniels, remember, hails from the Patriots system that deploys multiple backs. Even if he did lean heavily on Jacobs in 2022, and the veteran teased dissatisfaction with the current regime after Darren Waller's exit this offseason, moving the 25-year-old workhorse would instantly save Vegas $10 million. So NFL Analysis put together this trade idea for the Seahawks of where they would receive Josh Jacobs and they would be giving up a third and fifth round pick in this year's draft to get Jacobs. And remember, without a new contract in place, this would essentially be a rental, a one-year rental at that, if you weren't guaranteed to get a long-term extension with the deal. Now, I get it. I agree that Kenneth Walker III needs a running mate. And the Seahawks, their track record when it comes to drafting running backs is not great over the last few years. But with that said, I mean, when you talk about finding a running mate is typically not a $10 million MVP candidate caliber running back as your backup. Let's be real with y'all here. Josh Jacobs, it's one of those deals where he's too good. It doesn't make sense to make a trade, give up the assets for an older running back and a guy that is, still in the prime of his career to be your backup when you have other options of the idea of potentially going to day 3 of the draft or the free agent market for a cheaper running back. Josh Jacobs, I don't think, is going to be where the Seahawks are at. He's not looking to be a backup anywhere. Kenneth Walker is your guy. I like Josh. We're from the same hometown. We're both from Tulsa and everything. Always been a big fan of his, but to me, this is one of those things that is kind of just too good to be true, if that makes sense, when it comes to Josh Jacobs. He'll find somewhere. Somebody is going to pay him, and he'll be a starting running back, but I don't see him taking a step down to be the backup running back for the Seattle Seahawks and then still be paid $10 million. So with that, our pinned comment today, should Seattle trade for Josh Jacobs? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. Type Y for yes, type in for no. What do you think? Should Seattle make a trade for Josh Jacobs? Y for yes, in for no. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, next up, let's shift gears now. Talk about another running back that has been talked about, possibly heading to the Seattle Seahawks. That is Mark Ingram, the former Heisman Trophy winner out of Alabama, who most recently was with the New Orleans Saints. Seattle Sports 710's Michael Bumpus suggested the possibility that Seattle sign Ingram in NFL free agency. Remember, he's still sitting out there right now. Here's more from Bumpus on this possibility. I like his running style. I think it complements Kenneth Walker. Now, I'm not asking to get 200 carries, 300 carries. I'm asking him to just come in on third and short if you need a body to get down there and get dirty. I like the energy of Mark Ingram as well. His personality and his play, I feel it fits perfectly with the Seahawks. Get him for the low. I'm not saying depend on this guy, but bring him in, have a mentor, and back Kenneth Walker up. Now, I'll say this much. Signing Mark Ingram makes a whole lot more sense than a trade for Josh Jacobs because you're not giving up assets for a older running back, and he's going to be significantly cheaper. I'd much rather go with the Mark Ingram move than giving up all that it would take for Josh Jacobs, right? Doing that type of move there and having to pay for Josh Jacobs as well. So that part, that makes sense on the Mark Ingram front. But then the other half of this, let's just talk about Mark Ingram, the football player. I mean, the numbers haven't been that great the last couple of seasons. Less than 4 yards a carry the last 2 years. You have to go all the way back to 2019 to find a 1,000-yard season. I understand you'd be asking him to be the backup, to be the secondary back to Kenneth Walker, but I'm not sure how much left Mark Ingram has in the tank at this point. I still think you are better off going with somebody day 2, day 3, a younger running back with fresh legs to be that complementary piece for Kenneth Walker as far as I'm concerned. So, should Seattle sign Mark Ingram? What do you think about this possibility of bringing Ingram to Seattle? Type S for sign, type P for pass. What do you think? Should the Seahawks sign Mark Ingram or not? S for sign, P for pass. Let me know in the comment section below. The NFL draft just around the corner, and you're in luck because Seahawk draft hats are on sale now. You can be rocking out with your Hawk out and be wearing the same exact hats you're going to see on draft night. When the Seahawks have their future selections called on draft night, whether it's at pick 5 or 20 or if it's a trade, whatever it may be, those same guys are going to be wearing these hats that you see on your screen here, whether it's the flat bill version or it's the baseball cap style. We have both of them, and we have different colors. And so when you go to your draft party, when you're hanging out with your friends and watching this draft, why not go ahead and get this draft hat so you can be ahead of the curve, so you can be the one that stands out at your draft party, that you got the hat that no one else has got. Get yours now. You can still get it right in time for the draft as well. Chatsports.com/Seahawks draft to get yours today. That's chatsports.com/Seahawks draft. All right, one final note before we wrap up here. Let's talk about Poona Ford now. Bleacher Report is predicting that Seattle will sign the defensive tackle, bring him back to Seattle on a 2-year, $15 million deal with about $7 million guaranteed. Here's more on this possibility. Poona Ford isn't a young player, 27 years old, though his production has trended up in recent years. In each of the previous 3 seasons, he's registered 6 or more tackles for loss with at least a couple of sacks. Ford will do most of his damage on early downs as a run defender, though defensive coordinators should be intrigued by the number of plays he's made in the backfield since 2020. The Seattle Seahawks should continue to develop Ford into a solid rotational defender. Now, let me put it this way for you. I think in an ideal world, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, whether you bring Poona Ford back or not, Jalen Carter is your pick at 5. If Jalen Carter's there, you had the meeting with him and everything, you go with Jalen Carter. Bringing back Poona Ford should not affect that pick whatsoever. In a perfect world, you get Jalen Carter at the number 5 spot, you bring Poona Ford in as a rotational piece as well, and then you pair him up with this defensive line that's already brought in Jaron Reed, already brought in Draymond Jones, and all of a sudden, this defensive line, this front 7 for Seattle, is cooking with bacon grease now. Look, Poona Ford, I've seen improvement out of him. He's a good football player. I think we all like what we've seen from him at this point in his career. 35 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Those were some of the best numbers he's put up in his career at this point. But then you add him to this bunch, and I think you're feeling really good about what they bring to the table. And all of a sudden, what was a weakness in 2022, when we saw Josh Jacobs run all over this Seahawks defense, and when they were struggling to stop the run in particular last year, all of a sudden now you make those moves. You add in Jalen Carter, Poona Ford, these guys to the mix. Now this group all of a sudden looks really good and becomes a strength for this Seattle team. So before we go, should the Seahawks re-sign Poona Ford? What do you think about that possibility? 2 years, $15 million with 7 guaranteed. Do you like that possibility? If you do, type R for re-sign. If not, that's okay too. Type D for decline. Let us know in the comment section. R for re-sign, D for decline. You can follow me on social media. Share the video as well. We'd love to get this out to as many Seahawk fans as we possibly can. Tag me on Twitter at Tyler Jones Live, also on Instagram and Facebook as well. And I will see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.